Hello again, fourth grade. Let's get started on pages 11 and 12. And here we're going to focus specifically on Native Americans and the Constitution of 1849. So when gold was discovered in California in 1848, life got very difficult, especially for the California Native Americans, because all of these prospectors were rushing into California and they were pushing these Native Americans off of their own land. They were pushing them out of their own homes because they wanted gold, right? They didn't care that they were taking away someone's home. They were basically doing a lot of the things that were being done to them during the gold rush, where people would steal their land, or people would take their resources, they would take their tools, they would take their horses. So a lot of these things that people were unhappy about that was happening to them during the gold rush, these prospectors, they were already doing to these Native American tribes. So that's something to keep in the back of your mind, that this is something that they're not happy about, but they're also doing to others. So over 100,000 white settlers moved into the area and forced Native Americans off the land that they had lived on for many, many years. During that 1849 California Constitution Convention, the delegates, those people that were there, discussed the rights of Native Americans. Some people believed that the Native Americans should be allowed to take part in the new government, which makes sense because they were already there and they lived there, so they should be able to participate. But unfortunately, the majority, or the larger number of people that were there, believed that Native Americans should not. So going back to the 1849 Constitution, we're going to look at Article 2, and that's titled Right of Suffrage, and we're going to answer the following questions. So Section 1, who can vote? So you're going to list the gender, so male or female, the race, the age, and the residency where they live of people who can vote. For number 2, what does it say about Native Americans? And then at the bottom, even though the Constitution stated that Native Americans could someday have the right to vote, most Native Americans in California did not get this right until 1924. Now, I want you to stop and think about that for a minute. These are people who are already there. This is their land, this is their home, this is their property. And these new people come moving in, and they go and tell them, I don't think you should vote, or I don't think you should have a right to this land, which is completely unfair. In so many ways, it basically fights against all of the things that they said they wanted. So that's something to think about and keep in the back of your head. All right, let's go ahead and open up the 1849 California Constitution and take a look at these sections. So we're going to open up Article 2, and we're going to read Section 1. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up the California Constitution of 1849, and we're going to go down to Article 2, the right of suffrage, and we're going to be reading through Section 1. So this area that you're seeing on the screen right now, this is all Section 1 of Article 2. Now, just like before, I'm going to go through and read it with you because it is very dense reading. There's a lot of wordiness going on here. So I want to help you guys break it down and simplify it. So remember, the questions that we're looking at is who can vote, so the gender, the race, the age, and the residency. And then what does it say about Native Americans? So every white male citizen of the United States and every white male citizen of Mexico who shall have elected to become a citizen of the United States under the Treaty of Peace exchanged and ratified at Querétaro on the 30th day of May in 1848, of the age of 21 years, who shall have been a resident of the state 6 months next preceding the election, and the county of residence in which he claims his vote 30 days, shall be entitled to vote at all elections which are now or hereafter may authorize by law, provided nothing herein contained shall be construed to prevent the legislature by 2/3 concurrent vote from admitting to the right of suffrage Indians or the descendants of Indians in such special cases as proportion of the legislative body may deem just and proper. Wowzers, that is a very, very long section. And pretty much written as just one really long sentence. So let's go back to the beginning. Every white male citizen of the United States or white male citizen of Mexico. So we know that they need to be a white male, all right, who is chosen or elected, means chosen, to become a citizen of the United States. And they are of the age of 21 years. So far we know that they need to be a white male citizen of the United States who is at least 21 years old, who has been a resident of the state for 6 months. So that's going to answer our first question. So who can vote? White males who are 21 years old and have lived in the state for at least 6 months. So that's going to answer question number 1. What does it say about Native Americans? So they don't refer to Native Americans as Native Americans, they refer to them as Indians over here. All right, so that's going to be down here in the second section. So let's go down. 2/3 concurrent vote from admitting to the right of suffrage Indians or the descendants of Indians in such special cases as such proportion of the legislative body may deem just and proper. So you need a 2/3 vote from the legislature to allow Native Americans to vote, and it's only in special cases. So it says that Native Americans can vote under special circumstances only if 2/3 of the legislature agree to it. So you need to have 2/3 of that group say, okay, we'll allow it before they'll allow a Native American to vote, which is ridiculous because they were there first. Now let's go ahead on to the next section. It says in 1850, the Act for the Government and Protection of Indians was passed in the legislature. Read about it. Number 1, the Justice of the Peace would have jurisdiction over all complaints between Indians and whites, but in no case shall a white man be convicted of any offense upon the testimony of an Indian or Indians. All right, let's break that down a little bit. So it says that they're passing the Act for the Government and Protection of Indians, right? Sounds like a great thing, that they're going to protect the rights of Native Americans. But let's read between the lines here, or actually let's read the lines exactly as they are. So the Justice of the Peace would be in charge of all conflicts between Native Americans and whites. But in no white man be convicted of any offense upon the testimony of an Indian or Indians. What does that mean? That means under no circumstances is a white person going to get in trouble because of something that a Native American said they did, which doesn't really protect Native Americans at all. That means if a white person came onto their land and they stole things from their home or they hurt someone in their family and the Native American went to go complain about it, that white person doesn't get in trouble because of the testimony or the words of that Native American. Number 2, landowners would permit Indians who were peaceably residing on their land to continue to do so. This one is just ridiculous. Now it's saying landowners, where they're talking about white people, would allow Native Americans who were peacefully living on that white person's land to stay there. That white person moved into the Native Americans' land in the first place. So you can see how this is a little bit problematic. Number 3 says whites would be able to obtain control of Indian children. So what does that mean? That basically means they can enslave them. They can take them and do what they will with them. They can take children of Native American families just because. Number 4, if any Indian was convicted of a crime, any white person could come before the court and contract for the Indian services and in return would pay the Indian's fine. So if a Native American person was accused of a crime, a white person could come and basically they would come in front of the court and contract for that Indian services, and then they would pay that fine for the Native American. Number 5, it would be illegal to sell or administer alcohol to Indians. So white people can sell alcohol among themselves. They just can't sell them to Native Americans or give it to them. So they can't give it to them freely. They can't sell it to them. Number 6, Indians convicted of stealing a horse, mule, cow, or any other valuable could receive any number of lashes not to exceed 25 and fines not to exceed $200. So if you are found guilty, if you're a Native American that is accused or found guilty of stealing anything valuable, you would get up to 25 lashes, which means they would whip you at least 25 times or up to 25 times and make you pay up to $200. Now, this is a very large sum of money back then. $200 is not an amount of money that people just had lying around. Number 7, finally, an Indian found strolling, loitering where alcohol was sold, begging, or leading a profligate course of life would be liable for arrest. So if you are taking a walk, if you are hanging out somewhere where they might be selling alcohol, if you are begging for anything, you could be arrested. Basically just being there, just for being there. The justice, mayor, or recorder would make out a warrant. Within 24 hours, the services of the Indian in question could be sold to the highest bidder. So what does that mean? They would basically sell them to work for these people. The term of service would not exceed 4 months. So for up to 4 months, you could basically, if you're a Native American, you can be sold to the highest bidder, the person who's willing to pay the most for you. And you would basically be at their service for at least or up to 4 months. So what is your reaction to this act? How do you feel about these rules and laws? How do you feel about what it does? Do you feel that it actually does what it says it's going to do to protect Native Americans? Please make sure you are supporting your answer. Use text evidence. Explain your thoughts fully. Use complete sentences. I would love to see what you guys are going to write. And if you have any questions, definitely let me know. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Take care. Bye-bye.